Hi, ladies. Welcome to the Nervous System Health Masterclass. I am so excited to be sharing this information with you because oftentimes what I see in the wellness space is that we tend to focus a lot on the nutrition side of it. We tend to focus a lot on the supplementation. We tend to focus a lot on the workouts, but we miss the nervous system part, which is just as important and oftentimes is the missing key in someone's healing and also up leveling journey. So I am super excited to be talking to you about this today. So first, I want to start talking to you a little bit about my background and a little bit about my story. So hi, I'm Fernanda. I am a holistic hormone health coach and expert. And if you're curious, I did my studies through INN, the Integrative Nutrition School, and then I've taken numerous courses and have worked with mentors as well on the subject. And most importantly, though, I also struggle with my own hormonal symptoms. So specifically PCOS, and if you name a hormonal symptom, I probably struggle with it. So I used to experience a lot of PMS, a lot of brain fog, anxiety, inflammation. I used to have a super puffy round face. I had irregular periods and sometimes missing periods. At times I would have excessive bleeding, chronic fatigue. At time I also experienced acne. And I experienced this for over 10 years. And finally, I got to the point where I was like, I cannot live like this anymore. I feel like my body is crying out for help and I need to do something about it. And I remember the exact date that I decided that I was gonna change that around. And I was actually traveling in Costa Rica, and this one specific night, I woke up and I felt like my whole body was on fire. And I very quickly realized that I was experiencing a hot flash as an early 20-something-year-old. And that experience was truly scary because I didn't know how long it would last. I didn't know how intense it would get. I was also in a cute Airbnb in the middle of the mountain, and I didn't know where the nearest hospital was. I was by myself. And it lasted about 3 minutes and then it stopped and then it happened again. And that was the night that I told myself, I need to do something about this. Like, I cannot do this anymore. And I actually cut my trip short and I came back to the US. And that's when I started working with naturopathic doctors. Then I did my training in hormones. I worked with also hormone coaches too. And that all helped tremendously, ladies. It was so beneficial in my journey. But to be honest, the biggest shift happened once I also focused on my nervous system health. And honestly, not just only for my health, but also in other areas of my life. So I used to be the type of person that would always worried about what other people were thinking. I was a people pleaser. I had super weak boundaries and I always felt like people would take advantage of me. And I didn't really realize that all these things stemmed from a dysregulated nervous system. So once I healed my nervous system, not only did it help me finish healing my hormones, but I turned into a completely different woman for the better. So yeah, I will explain how all that ties in your not only your health, but also your leveling up journey too. So let's start with these symptoms. So oftentimes with the nervous system, what happens is that we walk around with a dysregulated nervous system and we might not even know it. So I wanted to put a couple scenarios here that could help you identify. These are scenarios that happen on a day-to-day basis and they can help you identify if you do have a dysregulated nervous system. So the first one here is you go to bed still thinking about something that you said at 8 a.m. that morning. Maybe you said something at work and you go to bed still thinking, oh my gosh, I hope she didn't think that that was rude, or I hope they didn't take it the wrong way, or hopefully it wasn't too loud. Like you're still overthinking about something that happened hours ago. or you feel on autopilot mode most of your day, or you consider an extreme empath. This is actually a pretty big one, because what happens is that you don't have those energetic boundaries. And because of that, you absorb everybody else's energies. And if somebody is upset, if somebody is mad, and you are absorbing that energy, that is going to dysregulate your nervous system. Another scenario is you randomly start to worry about something you said 5 days ago or even a month ago. So very similar to the first one. Or you start becoming frustrated if your boyfriend hasn't texted you in a couple hours. So ladies, this one is like my own personal example. The thing about the nervous system, when you heal your nervous system, you're also going to heal your attachment style. I used to have a very anxious attachment style. And to be honest, it's probably one of the worst ones to have, because you're always in constant fear of like abandonment or rejection. And I used to get so anxious and then spiral and then get really, really mad. And once I was able to do work around my nervous system, I'm a completely different woman. Now, when I date people, I don't even think about that. Like, that's just not even a thing. And to be honest, now I feel like people actually want to text me more because of that. So ladies, this is why healing your nervous system is truly impactful in all areas of your life. Another scenario is that you've been meaning to reply to a normal text from a friend for days, but yet somehow you keep avoiding it. Or you freak out at your partner when he breathes the wrong way. And I feel that as women, we tend to blame our hormones a lot when it comes to our mood. And we're like, oh, well, I'm on my period, or I'm about to get my period, so I overreacted. And I'm here to tell you that that's not normal, and you don't have to settle for that. Like, there is such a better way to actually live life than letting your hormones or whatever is going on really dictate your behavior and your mood for the day. Another scenario is that you tell yourself you'll work on a project for 2 hours, the timer goes off, and you have no idea what you did with those 2 hours. So this would be a lot of procrastination. Here I have a couple more scenarios. You cannot watch a movie, a show, or read a book without having to check in your phone every 5 minutes. Or you feel like you cannot accomplish any of the things that you wanted to accomplish for the day. Or you have people-pleasing tendencies, or you're a perfectionist, or you're addicted to your phone and scrolling. Or it's hard to be present in a conversation. Maybe you had a full-on conversation with someone for like 30 minutes, but you were kind of in, kind of out, can't even remember that much what you talked about. And then the other one that I have is that you don't have good boundaries, and you feel like people take advantage of you often. So these are all scenarios that can signify that your nervous system is dysregulated, and I'm going to give you tools that you can use to, one, become aware, but also shift out of that fight or flight state, basically. But first, let's start with what is our nervous system. So this is the system within our bodies that allows us to survive without conscious thinking. So this mechanism is done subconsciously and automated. So it alerts us of internal and external stressors. And it doesn't matter if the stressor is an infection in your body, or a dog chasing you, or simply being worried about something that you need to do. You have the same exact reaction to whatever the stressor is, whether it's little or big. Now, let's talk about exactly how it works in our bodies. So when we talk about the nervous system, we have to talk about the vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve is it's one of the biggest nerve that's in our bodies, and it starts in the brain, and it goes down to the lungs, the heart, the diaphragm, the stomach, sex organs, and then upwards to connect with nerves in the neck, throat, eyes, and ears. And it's responsible for digestion, heart rate, respiratory rate, and then certain reflex actions such as coughing, sneezing, swallowing, and vomiting. So the way that it works is that there are different branches in your nervous system. So the sympathetic nervous system is one of the branches, and it's the one responsible for activating that stress response. So if if your nervous system senses that there is anything that's considered a threat, then it's going to activate the sympathetic nervous system. And when this happens, the vagus nerve shuts down. So the vagus nerve is responsible for rest and digest as well, and all the, the digestion, heart rate, like the functions that I just said. So whenever your vagus nerve shuts down, you can go into one of the four nervous system reactions, and that can be freeze, fawn, fight, or flight. So I'm going to explain really quickly what each one looks like. So freeze, for example, say that you are in an argument with someone and suddenly you just don't know what to say. Like you want to say something, but the words are not coming out, or you have like no idea what to say. And maybe the other person is like waiting for you to say something, or maybe the other person is just like talking, and you just have no idea. You just like stay there frozen. So that would be a freeze response. A fight, on the other hand, would be the complete opposite. You actually become very defensive in situations that don't really need you to be that defensive. Flight would be if, say that you're in the argument and you just like right away want to exit the situation. You don't want to deal with it. You're like, I'm gone. And there is a difference, ladies, between knowing that you need time to process and telling the other person, communicating that to the other person, hey, I need 5 minutes, or I need an hour, or whatever time that is. That's different than just like completely exiting the situation, not even knowing what happened, and you're like, I don't want to deal with that. And then the last response is fawn, and this one is actually people pleasing. So this is very common for people that grew up in homes where they felt like they needed to perform a certain way in order to please their parents, or they needed to say the right things in order to avoid their parents getting mad, because maybe the parents didn't know how to regulate themselves. So they learn from a very early age that in order to feel accepted and in order to feel loved, they have to please others. So as an adult, this turn into people-pleasing tendencies. So say that you have a class at 7 a.m. on a Saturday, and then your friend asks you to go on a walk at 7 a.m. Now, there is literally no harm if you actually do want to go for a walk, but if you're canceling on your class out of fear of disappointing your friends, then that's definitely something to look into, and that would be a people-pleasing tendency. Okay, so this is very important when it comes to the nervous system, because what might feel like a threat to someone's body might not feel like a threat to others. So stress can be real or it can be perceived. Kind of like how I said, stressors can be an actual infection in your body, or actually being chased by a dog, or simply being worried about something. So real or perceived. And this will depend on the bioindividuality and then the meaning that that person has assigned to his or her life experiences. So going back to my own personal example of me becoming really anxious whenever my boyfriend didn't text me back right away, that was because I had assigned a certain meaning to that action. I had assigned that him not texting me back meant that maybe he just didn't really care that much about me. And that was activating a stress response in my body, because the actual fear was abandonment or rejection. And my nervous system was reading that as a threat. Now, I'm a completely different woman now. I'm way more confident in myself, and I am just so strong in who I am that now when I date people, first of all, I'm not even like thinking about, oh, how much are they texting me? Like, how many hours has it been? Like, that just doesn't happen. But if I were to not get a text, I wouldn't even care about it, because I have done work around it. I have regulated my nervous system to the point that I can be calm and I can be clear and I can be confident in myself, and I know that I'm strong in who I am, and it doesn't matter what another person does. So this is the thing about regulating your nervous system. You take back your control, and you don't let other people's reactions, other people's actions, or other people's emotions kind of shake your emotional state. So you're in control of your emotional state and your actions. Okay. So let's talk about this brain, about our brains. So our brains haven't evolved for modern day living. It still sees most things as life or death. And ladies, this was a great mechanism, a great defense mechanism back when we were living in caves, back when we had to hunt for our food, when we actually had to run away from predators. And the thing is that nowadays we don't really need such strong of a reaction, because now we live in homes. Now we drive cars. We're not being chased by lions on an everyday basis, if ever, or actually ever, never, right? However, our brains and our nervous system, they haven't really evolved to catch on the fact that we don't really need that strong of a reaction, but we still have that reaction. So this is very important to keep in mind, because sometimes we ignore the little things because we're like, oh, that's not that big of a deal. And logically, we know it's not that big of a deal, but to our nervous system, it is. So having that awareness is going to be really important in making sure that you can remain calm in situations that otherwise would send you into a spiral. So with that being said, our nervous system health really depends on our life experiences, like I mentioned before, our upbringing, our trauma, and then also our daily actions. And by this, I mean like all the things that we consume, what we listen to, who we surround ourselves with, our mindset, the type of conversations that we are engaging in. And this is because, remember how I said at the beginning of the class that these systems are subconscious and automated? So we have to look at our subconscious mind when it comes to our nervous system. Okay, ladies, so when we talk about our nervous system, we have to talk about our subconscious mind. So our bodies are constantly being bombarded by stimulation that's filtered by our RAS, so our reticular activating system, which is located in our brain. And these filters are based on our beliefs, our limiting beliefs, our values, whatever we give our energy to. So we receive by our senses 2.3 bits of information per second. And this is information coming from everywhere. So the sound of my voice, the colors that you're seeing on your screen, the colors that you're seeing in your environment, the sun, the light, the texture of the clothing and how it feels on your skin, everything. But we don't even know how much is going on because our RAS filters this information at 128 bits per second. And thank God, otherwise we would go crazy. And honestly, the simplest way to kind of just like show you this is the popular experiment of the red car. Like if I asked you how many red cars you saw yesterday, you probably wouldn't know because you weren't paying attention to that. But if I were to ask you to actually count them today, then you would be paying attention to it. And it doesn't mean that there were no red cars on the street. It's just that your brain categorized that as something unimportant and something that you just don't really need to give your energy to. So 5% of our mind is conscious and 95% is subconscious. So this means that we might not be aware on a conscious level everything that's actually impacting our nervous system. So for example, if you are in your car and your favorite song comes on and the song calls to like turn it up, you're not going to be thinking about it. Maybe you'll just like do it automatically. You're going to turn on the volume, right? Or maybe you are watching TV and suddenly you start craving pizza. And maybe it's because you saw a pizza ad like during a commercial, or maybe you saw a pizza sign on your way home and your conscious mind didn't pick up on it, but your subconscious mind did. So this is why awareness is so important, and really taking inventory of everything that you're consuming on a daily basis, taking inventory on the type of conversations that you're engaging, the type of things that you're reading, music, absolutely everything, because your subconscious mind is picking up on those things. Okay, so now that I have explained how the nervous system works, I want to explain how it's so closely connected to our hormones. So our nervous system and our hormones are connected via the brain. So whenever our nervous system senses a stressor, it tells the brain, hey, we are in a life or death situation. So then your brain talks to your endocrine system, which is the one responsible for your hormones. So what's going to happen is that your brain then is going to tell your endocrine system, specifically your adrenals, to start producing the stress hormone. So I want to walk you through what happens whenever your stress response turns on in your body. So the first thing that's going to happen is that your body is going to release sugar into your blood, because remember how I said that our stress response hasn't really evolved that much. It still thinks that everything is life or death. So it's going to release sugar into your blood so that you have the energy to run away from the lion. And also, most of your blood is going to be allocated towards your legs, so that you, again, can run away from the lion, leaving you with little blood allocation to your other extremities. So that's when you start seeing brittle nails, dry skin, dry hair, if you have been on a stress response for a long period of time. So now you have these imbalanced blood sugar levels, which can lead to insulin resistance, which can lead to diabetes. A prolonged stress response can also leave you feeling fatigued. It's going to cause inflammation in your body. And then very important functions in your body shut down. Because if you think about it, if your body is worried about surviving, it's not going to be worried about actually digesting your food. It's not going to be worried about reproducing, right? So this is going to leave you with metabolic dysregulation. It's going to leave you with symptoms like missing periods or irregular periods or painful periods. And then one of the things what happens as well is that progesterone, which is one of a very important sex hormone, it actually gets stolen from your reproductive system so that it can be used to be produced cortisol, which is your stress hormone. So that can leave you with estrogen dominance and then a lot of hormonal imbalance symptoms. So ladies, I want to walk you through this 3-step process so that you can take your power back, so that you can regulate your nervous system, and so that you can help your health and also your leveling up journey. Because, I gave you examples of how my nervous system impacted my relationships, how it has impacted the relationship with myself for the better. It really impacts how you show up in the world, how much space you take in the world. So a regulated nervous system is going to help you really become the woman that you want to become. And it's going to create space in your life so that you can attract the things that you want to attract. So it's so crucial really for your health and also for your personal growth. So if you identified with any of the scenarios that I gave at the beginning of the class, whenever you start feeling a reaction in your body, whether it's anxiety or whether you feel like you cannot be still while you're watching a movie, whatever it is, I want you to walk through this 3-step process. So step number 1, becoming aware and tap into your body's feeling state. So say that you're watching a movie and you're like constantly checking on your phone. I don't want you to just ignore it. I want you to like actually get curious and be like, why do I feel like I need to be doing this? Like, why cannot I just relax and watch the movie? And then really try to identify whatever it is that you're feeling. Is it anxiety? Is it that you're just burnt out? Whatever it is, I want you to name it. And then step two, I want you to sit with the feeling and understand what's here to tell you, because everything that manifests in your body is telling you something and it has a message for you. And when I say also sit with the feeling, I don't mean like, spiraling for 30 minutes. So a fun fact about emotions, actually, you only need to feel them for 90 seconds so that you can then work on letting them go. But what happens is that most of the time we ignore step one and we just keep this pattern and this behavior. So then that emotion is never going to leave our bodies. So sit with the feeling, can be a couple minutes. And the cool thing is too, that say that maybe you're feeling anxiety. If you actually feel it for a couple minutes, it's going to help you feel better. Like the anxiety level is actually going to go down. So feel it and then understand what's here to tell you. So for example, going back to the scenario where I told you, like I would get really anxious when my boyfriend wouldn't text me right away. I wish that I had this framework, because what would happen to me is that I would just become really anxious and then spiral, and then that would turn into anger, and then that would ruin my mood for like part of the day or sometimes most of the day. And what I would have done instead is, okay, become aware, I'm feeling anxiety. Where do I feel it? For me, it's mostly always in my stomach, but maybe you feel it in your hips or maybe in your shoulders, maybe in your lower back. And then I would actually feel it. And then I would try to get curious on what's here to tell me. So I would ask myself, why am I feeling this anxiety? Okay, it's because he's not texting me. But then there are always layers. So ask yourself the question why like 3 times. And then I would say, okay, and why the fact that he's not texting me makes me feel anxious? And then I would be like, oh, because that might mean that he doesn't care about me, or that he's gonna leave me, or whatever, right? And then get even curious and then say, okay, but why? You are probably going to get to the root issue when you start getting really curious and uncovering the layers. And with the work that I have done, I was able to tie that specific reaction to something that started happening in childhood for me. So also a really good tip is that with the nervous system, when you have a very strong reaction, the underlying cause is always a fear of something. Because if you think of your nervous system, it was designed to make you survive. So when your nervous system is activated, there is a fear, a threat that something is not going to work for you, or that something is going to harm you. So that's something to keep in mind whenever you're doing this work. And then step 3 is use a nervous system regulation tool to move the energy out of your body. So I want to show you, ladies, some of my favorite tools. So so whenever you're triggered in a situation where you're becoming anxious, or you are in one of the 4 nervous system responses, I like 2 tools. I like EFT and breath work. So breath work, with breath work, you're stimulating your vagus nerve, which is what you want. My favorite is box breathing, because you can do it anywhere. Most people are not even gonna know that you're doing it. And it's basically you inhale for 4, you hold for 4 seconds, you exhale for 4 seconds, and then you hold for 4 seconds. And you do that a couple times. Or you can just look up a video on YouTube, or you can take a class or an online session, but that's mostly for like maintenance. Like if you're really triggered, I would say box breathing or look up a video on YouTube. And then the second tool that I really like is EFT. So this is emotional freedom technique, and it is a combination between Chinese acupuncture and then talk therapy. So you're basically pressing on energy points in your body as you are talking through the issue. And what you're doing is that you are stimulating your vagus nerve, and you're also rewiring the narrative that's going on in your subconscious mind. So these are my two favorite ones for whenever you know that you are triggered in a specific situation. And then I have some tools that are going to help you for maintenance. So say that maybe you're not triggered, but you know that there is something that you need to work on. Maybe you need to work on your people pleasing tendencies. So what I really like then is to do journaling or meditation, or else affirmations are really good too. And fun fact, your subconscious mind literally never thinks that you're lying. So whatever you say is true to your subconscious mind. So that means, ladies, no more negative self-talk. That means also paying attention to the conversations and the things that you're saying about other people, because your subconscious mind is very self-centered. To your subconscious mind, you are the only one that exists. So anything revolves around you, right? So that's something to keep in mind as well. I have some other tools here that are very good for maintenance as well. So getting a massage is really good. It really moves that stuck energy in your body. Practices that make you present in your body and that get you out of your head. So yoga, dancing, singing, humming, laughing, all of these things are going to help you become more present and really like know what's going on. So like if you're watching a movie, watch the movie, right? Instead of feeling like, oh, I need to be doing all these other things too. We don't want to do that. Another one that's good is somatic shaking. And actually, somatic shaking, you can do it too if you are triggered as well. And animals do this like very naturally. I don't know if you have ever seen a documentary maybe on Discovery Channel. Whenever a cheetah is chasing a deer, if that deer manages to escape, the first thing that that deer is going to do is shake himself. Because what happened is that that deer's nervous system got activated so that it could have the energy to run away from the cheetah. And then once it's safe, it's going to reset its nervous system, and then it's just going to go on and live his life. But first, he needs to reset. So somatic shaking is really good to reset your nervous system. Another one, this is more of a tip, but be aware of the first 10 minutes after waking and right before going to bed. Because during this state, your brain is in theta waves, which is basically like a hypnotic state where it's just more permeable and more susceptible to the information that you're exposed. So for example, if you're waking up and right away you go on your phone, you're like absorbing everybody else's energies on social media. Or if you're waking up and right away you are reading the news, and maybe the news are about how bad the economy is and how everybody's losing their job, like subconsciously you're gonna be in that state of fear, and it's going to activate your nervous system, which you don't want. So actually what I recommend is that you wake up and you connect with yourself. Like you ask yourself, okay, what do I need right now? And then also tell yourself things that you're grateful for, because that's going to put you in that state of abundance. And that's when you get to attract more of what you want. That's when you get to remain calm versus being in fear and in that stress response. Another one is try not to recreate situations in your head. So whenever you recreate situations in your head, so the thing is that your body doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's not real. And I'm going to give you an example. Say that you think about a specific situation that made you mad. Maybe it happened last month, or maybe it happened a year ago, but when you still think about that situation, you still get upset. And maybe your heart rate starts going up. So this is a perfect example of how overthinking or reliving a situation in your head actually is causing a physical reaction in your body. So this is the difference, guys, between animals and humans. So going back to my deer example, literally that deer is not thinking, probably even like 2 hours after it happened, that deer is not thinking, oh my gosh, I almost got eaten by a cheetah today. It literally doesn't even care. It's just living his life. However, as humans, we like to overthink and overthink and overthink, and that just is stealing like 70% of your energy, ladies. So this is just something to be aware of. And then the other tip that I have is having good boundaries and actually practicing enforcing those boundaries, because this is going to create a safe structure for your nervous system, and it's going to avoid a chaotic state in your life in general. Because for example, say again that you have a very important event on a Saturday, and then your friend asks you to go out that Friday night. If you have good boundaries, you can go and be like, okay, but I'm gonna leave at 10. I know what's gonna happen. I know I'm gonna be back at home and get my sleep and be ready for my big event. If you don't have good boundaries with yourself and you don't trust yourself, you're gonna go out that Friday at the mercy of like whatever you wanna do whenever you get there. And that's very dysregulating to your nervous system. Okay, ladies, and lastly, I have these other tips that are rooted in traditional Chinese medicine, and they're also going to help you remain in that calm state and just your health in general. So I always recommend take 15 minutes to eat your meals and allow your body to relax. So I recommend you take like 2 or 3 deep breaths before eating your meal so that you ensure that you're switching out of the stress of the day into rest and digest so that you can actually absorb all the nutrients that you're eating. Also, invest in blue light blockers to reduce the stress caused by blue light. Set curfews for your devices, which I kind of briefly talked about. You know, don't use your phone first thing in the morning or lastly before going to bed. Regulate your circadian rhythm by exposing yourself to early morning sunlight. This is a really good practice to kind of just keep your nervous system calm and just really have like so your body knows what to expect, because your body is on an internal clock, and following that clock again is going to avoid that internal chaos. And then the last one I have is create structure in your life. So learn to prioritize and manage your time again to avoid that chaotic state. So sometimes I see people where they have so much to do, but they don't really have a plan. They don't really use a calendar. So this is just so chaotic and it is so overwhelming to your nervous system. And this is when you can go into a state of overthinking or a state of procrastination because you have so much going on and you have no plan that you don't even know how to start. So yeah, I always recommend time blocking. That has been very supportive for me and some of my clients as well. So always try to have structure and and a plan for everything that you need to do. But otherwise, ladies, that's all I had as far as the nervous system class.
What we'll do, ladies, is that we will do it all together. So as you guys know, Fernanda is my health coach, and this has helped me so much to reduce my anxiety, to calm down, my self-image. I mean, it has helped me so much, and it's because, again, it works on the subconscious. So like Fernanda was saying, EFT is used, like literally it can be used for healing, it can be used for relationships, it can literally, people use it for money, like to remove money blocks. So it can be used in every area of your life, but it's really, yeah, it's like insane, but it's so powerful to really work on that subconscious, which is that 95. So this, I do this every single morning. Fernanda makes like customized scripts for me for the things I have to work on. So yeah, I think it would be great. We can do one just like a few minutes. So if you are watching, just follow along and we can do it together.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So let's start with the first round. That's going to be, I mean, overall, it's going to take like 5 minutes, but let's start with the first round, which is going to be to, make sure that you go into that rest and digest and that very calm state and open up your subconscious to then we're going to work on, procrastination and self-sabotaging and all of that. But just do whatever I'm doing, pressure on the points that I pressed, and just repeat after me.
Okay.
So, even though my nervous system feels tense and on edge at times, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though I struggle to relax and feel calm sometimes, I choose to deeply relax now. And even though my body feels tense and my mind is racing at times, I choose to release this tension and invite calmness in. Now, where your third eye is, this tension in my body, I choose to release it now. All this stress and tension, I invite calmness and relaxation. Releasing all this tension right now. I feel calm and at ease. Now, where your brow line is, I choose to trust myself and my body's ability to switch to a relaxed state. Okay, so that was one round. We're gonna do another one, pressing on the same points. So let's start with the karate point. Even though I often procrastinate and sabotage my efforts, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though I get caught up in perfectionism and overthinking, I choose to let go of these patterns now. Even though I worry about what other people are going to think, and I always try to please everyone, I choose to prioritize my well-being and happiness. I'm letting go of this procrastination and self-sabotaging patterns. Did we do this one? Let's do this one. I choose to release the need for perfection because perfection is not even real. It's a made-up narrative that I have in my head. I'm releasing the need to please everyone and control the outcome of what they are going to think about me. I prioritize my well-being. I prioritize the things that I want to do. I prioritize my own happiness. I prioritize the boundaries that I have set for myself, and I enforce them, and I teach people to enforce them. And so it is. Take a deep breath. And that was it, ladies. That is an example of how EFT works and how you can rewire your subconscious mind while also stimulating your vagus nerve.
Yes, thank you so much, Fernanda. That was so helpful. So I want to just allow the girls, if you guys have any questions, you can unmute yourself if you'd like, if you have any questions of what we talked about. And if not, I have a question.
A question.
Go
Yes.
ahead.
Hi, I'm Amber's mom.
Oh,
Thank you for the
hi.
class. Thank you for the class. I wanna ask you a question. Like you were saying, for us to repeat some things. What? How can we know what to say? You know what I'm saying? Like you tell Amber, oh, say A, B, C, and D, but like after hearing you, how can we become with these things that it will help us in each specific area we need?
Yeah. So this is where journaling is going to be really helpful because I want you to think about the outcome that you want. So, for example, if I know that I'm struggling, so I was struggling with people pleasing tendencies. So I wrote down, what do I want to improve? So for me, it was, I want to be strong on my boundaries so that whenever a situation arises, I know what to do and I know that I'm going to do what's best for me. So even that right there, that would be an affirmation. Like, I do what's best for me, or I am strong on my boundaries. So basically, what you say is whatever you want to do and however you want to act, and the woman that you want to be.
I want to add something to that really quick. So Fernanda, so this is Fernanda with her one-on-one clients. She makes customized scripts for every single person depending on what they're needing. So that's what Fernanda does. But one thing that I tell my clients, just, again, if you are wanting to work with Fernanda because you want to heal your hormones, and that's part of what she does with her one-on-one clients, and she's amazing at it. But if you're just, for example, if you're like, okay, I just want to work on whatever limiting belief of that moment, what I teach my clients to make it simple, because I don't make customized scripts for them, is you can literally just do affirmation. So like Fernanda was saying, it's like whatever you desire, that's your new affirmation. So actually, when I'm wanting to rewire, ever since I started working with Fernanda, I do this for every area of my life. So if I'm wanting to create a new belief for like money or business or relationship, you just want to tap on the points. And I can include a link on YouTube so you can like just memorize the tapping points, but it's pretty much, the ones that we went over. It's super easy. And then once you do it a few times, you'll memorize them. And then you pretty much just affirm what you want. So for example, I know that I've been struggling with, people pleasing tendencies, but I choose to love. And so first is accepting yourself and not judging yourself. So I choose to accept myself. And then and then you can say, I let go of people pleasing tendencies and I stand firm on my boundaries. So that's your affirmation. So first, you just start with saying, I let this go. And then B is, this is what I am now, and you're claiming it. And then that's why Fernanda at the end said, and so it is, because you're not leaving it up to question. You're saying, this is what it is.
Yes, because your subconscious mind, like I mentioned in the class, your subconscious mind is literally following commands. It doesn't know if anything is right, if anything is wrong. It just does whatever your most default way of thinking is. So the more you do this, the more you rewind your subconscious mind to what you actually want. So that's why this is so powerful.
Yes. Like one of my one-on-one clients, she always felt like when she expressed her she had a limiting belief that whenever she expressed something, that people didn't like, thought she was being mean, or that like she was being too much. So I told her, hey, I want you to do the affirmation, and she can do the EFT tapping too. But what I have found is that the EFT tapping helps it, like it's like affirmations on steroids. So affirmations are already very powerful, but it's like affirmations and tapping on the acupuncture points, which is Chinese medicine, to really again activate your nervous system and like really regulate it into your body. So it's like it's not, so that's why she said it's a mix of talk therapy, but then what was the other?
But then also, yeah, traditional Chinese acupuncture and working with your subconscious mind.
Yes, that's what it is. So it's we're working on both.
Exactly. And you can do it as short as you want, or you can do it as long as you want. And like Amber said, you can do it I've used it for my anxiety. I used it to heal my flying anxiety. I used to be the person that would get on a plane and I would almost like my eyes would get watery because I was so anxious. And then with EFT tapping, now I'm able to take naps in the plane, even if it's like a super long flight. So you can use it for absolutely anything.
And one thing that I want to add is that one thing that I have found with EFT is that, so for example, I teach affirmation, like how to change your subconscious for my clients for relationships and stuff like that. But I never really did affirmations for like people pleasing or like health. Like when people think about affirmations, they think about money affirmations, or they think about like, relationship affirmations, but they don't think about that you can use those same affirmations to change and regulate your nervous system and heal those parts of you, like people pleasing, like all of those things that you want to work on, perfectionism, all of those things. You can do affirmations, and then the EFT really helps. And what I have found is that like Fernanda tells me, okay, every single day I want you to do EFT. So what I did is that I created space in my schedule that I am doing EFT every day so that I'm able to see a big difference. Just like when I, set an intention, okay, I want to change this in my relationships, and I say it every day and then it changes. So now I'm putting the intention for whatever area I want to work on. So then I'm seeing a difference. So I think the biggest thing with regulating your nervous system is there has to be intentionality. It's like Fernanda said, it's like, setting the time, like, hey, you know what, like what Fernanda has taught me is like your morning is very important. So in the morning, the first thing I do for the most part after brushing my teeth is I do my nervous system regulation. So I will do, 10 minutes of like EFT tapping. So you can do like 5 minutes of breath work, 5 minutes of EFT tapping, right? So what that's going to do is every single day of you doing that, it's compounding, right? Compared to someone that's like, oh, I'll do it one day, once a month. Like you're not going to see the results that you want to see. Just like with everything, you have to be consistent. So like all of the tools that Fernanda shared, it's like, they're so helpful, right? And you can be like, oh yeah, like it sounds good. But if you don't apply it, like I always say this with all my programs, like you have to actually do the work. So with for everything that Fernanda said, it's like you have to actually do your EFT like you have to create the space to do it. And then, that's why Fernanda, it's like, yes, people can, go on YouTube and figure everything out on their own, or like make the space to do it on their own. But that's where like what I have found is where a lot of people really benefit from one-on-one coaching is where they need that accountability. It's like having like I have check-ins with Fernanda every week. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be doing this, right? So it can help with the accountability and I mean obviously the support and everything. But the most important thing is set a time for it. So what I would say for the girls watching the masterclass is it can be really easy to just watch something, but I challenge you for this next week is like even just 5 minutes in the morning, do one thing that Fernanda said, like look up on YouTube, box breathing, and you can do it for 5 minutes. Or, you can even look up on YouTube, like EFT tapping, like, I don't know, maybe that comes up, right? Or
Yeah, there's
you just
thousands
do
of
it.
videos.
Yeah, exactly. So you can look up a video on YouTube, right? But it's like, or journal for 5 minutes. And when you wake up, notice, like I do this, you can do like 3 pages where you write down how you're feeling in the morning and really go into your body. How am I feeling? So again, it's like just set the intention of doing this, 5-10 minutes every morning. And the more that you do it, you're going to notice your nervous system. It's going to start regulating, and you're going to be able to have boundaries, all these things.
Yeah, because ladies, it truly is like being in a relationship with someone else, or like any relationship that you have in your life, you have to give it time. If you are only, if you are waking up and right away you're tending to other people, not only are you going to be left depleted, both physically and mentally, but also you're not tending to the relationship with yourself. And that is why regulating your nervous system and using these tools, it helps you in all areas of your life, beginning with a relationship with yourself, because like Amber said, allocating the time, you are telling yourself, I am worthy of doing this. I am worthy of working for the life that I want. I am worthy of achieving my dreams. And it starts with, showing up for myself. Put actually the time in your calendar to show up for yourself and to like really start strengthening that connection with your body and bettering that relationship with yourself first.
Yes. All right. So, if we don't have any more questions, we'll finish the call. But thank you so much, Fernanda, for coming. It was so helpful. I even learned a lot, and I've been working with you. So thank you so much.